Hi everyone, it's Lindsay, and today I want to share just a really clean and simple digital stamped card that took maybe 20 minutes to make. So I'm going to be using this Bunny Latte digital stamp that was a freebie from Craft and Desert Divas. I'm also going to be using it along with the Tipsy Cups digital stamp that can be found in the Craft and Desert Divas shop as well. So I went ahead and took both of these digital stamps in Photoshop Elements, and I did a little bit of stamp layering using the PNG images. Then I went ahead and printed off onto white cardstock with my laser printer and then trimmed out this panel. Now I trimmed my panel down to 4 inches by 5¼ inches, so it was slightly smaller than an A2 card base. Now I'm just going to go ahead and I brought out my colored pencils, and I'm just going to do some very quick colored pencil coloring, and I'll use my GAM saw, my blending stumps, and then I have just a file off to the side that I go ahead and scribble my color off onto that helps get rid of my color on my blending stumps. But I'm going to be using all of these just to do some very quick colored pencil coloring. Now I am trying to go from a very dark to almost white color. So I'm using some very light shading here. I'm also using some spring colors here. So I started off with pink, I went on to blue, a very light pale blue, and now I'm moving on to a purple color, and you can see I also have green laid off to the side. I will end up using some yellows, oranges, light gray for the spoon, and some really light, almost brown grays for the rabbit. Now I use my laser printer here so I don't have to worry about any bleeding. Just make sure that you use a printer that will work with whatever coloring medium you decide to use. Now whenever I make clean and simple cards, the majority of the time I'm going to spend the most time on the coloring. So I really try to do a little bit more shading than I would normally do. Now I am no expert coloring person. I'm not an artist. I'm not very good at it. I just try my best, and I put in just a little bit extra effort on my clean and simple cards that I do, because that is the thing that is going to show up the most and shine through the most. So I'm moving on to some yellow now for the plates, and I didn't want to repeat any colors, so I grabbed out some yellows and some oranges to use on the bottom plates and really tie in with the spring theme here. Now I'm moving on to some oranges, and again these are very light colors that I'm using. And then I'm blending them out, making sure to keep a little bit of white space in there just to give a nice soft effect. Now for the spoon, I went ahead and used some cool gray colors here, and again, just putting just a little bit of color down and then really blending it out with that GAM saw and that blending stump. Then of course, I'm going to move on to some browns for the coffee and the cups. Now you could do whatever colors you wanted here. You could make them tea, you could make them coffee, lattes, whatever color you really want to here. So I went ahead with just some straight browns for those. And then for my little rabbit, I brought in these are considered gray colors, but they're very warm grays, so they're almost brown. So again, I'm moving from the very darkest color to the very lightest, making sure to keep that white space in the center so I've got that nice soft look. Now I also added a little pink to the bunny's nose, and of course his little center of the ears. And also I went ahead and added just a little bit to the cheeks and then really blended it out for a nice little blush effect. Now if you wanted to even take this one step further, you could always go in and add like a grounding effect and also a sky around the cups, the top of the cups. I didn't want to do that today. I wanted to keep it really nice and a lot of white space, so I didn't do that. But if you wanted to take a step further, you could always go in and do that. So instead of bringing in 2 different colors of pink here, I went ahead and just grabbed the pink that I had used on the cups before, just to carry that all the way across the card. So I'm not introducing any new colors in small bits. Now for this sentiment, I went ahead and grabbed my Simply Said sentiment stamp set from Craft and Desert Divas, and I just picked out the little hello. Now the great thing about this card is you could turn it into anything you wanted. A thank you card, a hello card like I'm doing here, and I love you card. You could even print this off onto a tag and give it as a gift. So it really is, the sky's the limit with this little image here. So I stamped him out, and then I went ahead and added some double-sided adhesive to the back of this panel, and I'm just going to mount it straight onto an A2 top folding white card base. Of course, you could add dimension, but for this specific one, I really wanted tone on tone, very clean and simple. So I added that down, and then just to add a little bit of embellishment, I grabbed my glossy accents and I added glossy accents to all of the liquid in the cup. So this little drop that's hanging off the top cup, and then also all of that liquid that is inside each one of the cups. This was a nice way to add just a little bit of interest without adding too much dimension to my card, since I did want to keep it nice and flat. Now once I had that done and I already had my glossy accents out, I went ahead and grabbed the Pastel Paradise Sequin Mix from Craft and Desert Divas, and I just popped a few of those on around the hello sentiment that I stamped. Now I knew I already wanted to use this sequin mix because I am horrible at picking out colors for my cards. So I looked at my sequin mixes that I had on hand. I chose one that looked very springish to me. And then from that sequin mix, I just started pulling colored pencils that matched the colors in the sequin mix. So I let somebody else do all the color choice for me since I am not good at it. So that is just a little tip that I like to use all the time. I go ahead and just pick out what embellishment I'm using or a pattern paper that I might be using, and I pull colors from that to use on my coloring on my card, so I don't have to sit and figure out what goes with what color. But once I had these glued down, that finished off my clean and simple card for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, I will leave you with a close-up of the finished card and just a few pictures. Information and the supply list, you can head to my blog. I will leave that link in the description box below. Thank you guys for watching today, and happy crafting.